Thanks for everybody for joining us. I know some of you were able to meet with us last week when we were doing just a 3-series demo, and we're going to kind of want to continue these webinars, and I want to go into using our software. So our software we use that connects the PowerMaster and has kind of like a database built in is what we call MeterSite Manager 2. It's been around since the beginning of the product. The product is meant to be PC based. You can load it on any PC. It's got a free license. There's no fee for it. You just have to have a PowerMaster product to use it. The main functions of the software are going to be creating sites, sending these sites to the PowerMaster, downloading data, creating a route, and I'll kind of go into what this stuff is in detail. Wiping data clean from the analyzer, and also be able to generate a report. You can do a PDF or print, either way. But the big thing I'm excited about is talking about some of the new features we have in this new version, which is version 2.6.0.7, and that's available today on our support website. So if you go to our website, over onto support, technical library, when you log in, you'll get access to it. And let's go back to technical library. And those of you who have never visited our technical library, this is where we keep all of our analyzer firmware updates. So if we have a new software update, this is where you would find it. Anytime we have a software update, you can find this here as well. So we've got this new version 2.6.0.7 available right now. And you also have a manual for the MeterSite Manager. So over the stuff that I'm going over, this is all documented in the manual, so you're free to grab that. And I'll talk about this report template because we have a new feature where you can actually export your data to a custom spreadsheet. A lot of guys have been asking about that for a while, so that's now available. Okay. Back over here. So I probably should have did this beginning. I'm your presenter. My name is Chris Mullins. I'm the product manager here at Powermetrix. I've been with the company since 2001, so I'm going on 20 years now. I've kind of started out in the company and kind of moved up. So feel free to contact me by email. There's my email address, or you can contact me by phone as well. So continuing our COVID-19 quarantine webinar, as some of you have known that a lot of the companies are quarantining their employees, and we are trying to do the same. So we're trying to keep our employees safe while also being able to help our customers out there. So today we're going to talk about MeterSite Manager. On the 26th, which is Thursday, John Jones will continue his series, and he's going to be doing what a CT load boost and CT benchtop test is with the 7 series. So those of you who have 7 series, make sure you tune in on this. On the 31st, we get a lot of questions about CT testing and how do you interpret these results. So Martin Hyatt is going to be doing a presentation on how you interpret the CT test results. It goes down to looking at the burden, looking at the parallelogram. So it's going to be a great presentation. So hope you tune in for that. And of course, we're hyping up our new product intro. Don't forget to join us on April 2nd. We'll do a new product intro. So I'm pretty excited about that one. Just one thing to let you know that we are running a service promo. For those of you who may be idle and not using your product, this may be a great time for you to send your analyzer in for a calibration. If you've got a repair, you need to be able to do, or if you're looking to do an upgrade, some guys are upgrading their product from, a 7300 to a 7035. We can do that as well. So right now, up until April 30th, we will give you a 25% discount anytime you submit an RMA request, and you can do that online, or you can do that, give us a call. That number's wrong, by the way, 865-966-5857. Sorry about that. And don't forget to stick around the end of the webinar. I will be giving away 2 hats. This is randomly chosen, but you must be here at the end of the webinar to get it. All right, guys, let's talk about the product. So this is Meter Site Manager. This is when you open up the application, you'll see a structure that looks very similar to this. So here, this main section here is going to be the database. These have all of your sites, the last time they were tested, a lot of other information about it. Like, for example, I'm showing the billing multiplier. Next time it needs to be tested, KT, service type, meter form. There are other things we can show in this. But I want to kind of go over the basic stuff now. So when the guys first get their product, they usually install Meter Site Manager, and the first thing they want to do is to create a new site. They want to be able to generate it in the software. Some guys like to do it in the field. You can do that as well. To make it easier, I usually try to do it here on the software. So to create a new site, I go over here to Tools, and I click on New Site. And this new site form comes up here. Anything at this top section is required. So I need to have a unique site ID. Let's go test 9. And I got to select a meter form. We're going to do a form 9 on this one. And notice when I selected a meter form, it automatically populates the service and service type. But a lot of you know that sometimes form 9s, you can support a lot of different service types. So if you've got a Delta, if you've got a single phase service, you select here as well. But let's just stick to the 4-wire Y. I have the option of entering my case of H here. You can enter, like, let's see, 1.8 is typical KH for a form 9, but you can also enter this in the meter tab as well. So do you see all these tabs up here? This page 2, page 3. This right here on page 2 is a database for your meters. So a lot of the time, a lot of the meters we've pre-populated in here, but you can also go in and create your own meter. If you just click on this and you click on Meter Editor and then New, now you can create a new meter. But let's just use one that's in the database already. So here is an A1D plus 9S. If you know the serial number, you can type this in as well, or the meter number. But notice that it automatically populates the KH value. So when you select a meter form in Meter Site Manager with a KH already input, that's kind of like the secondary. So if you go over here to the first page and type in the KH value here, this sets precedence. So this number overrides what's in the meter database, if that makes sense. Okay. On page 3, we've got your CTs here, same function. We've got some pre-populated CTs in here. You can do the same thing. If I need to create a new CT, I'd go down here to CT Editor, click on that, and then I click on New, and I can select manufacturer, model, and burden class, and so forth. Remember, this is all optional. I don't have to enter a CT. I don't have to enter a meter. The nice thing about the PowerMaster, we automatically figure out what the nameplate of the CT is once you do a CT test. But those who try to keep their records up and want to be able to compare what they have on the database, this is why you would want to do this. I noticed that we had some little bit of technical issues as far as picture quality. Just a quick, input into chat. Does everyone seem to think this big picture quality is a little bit better, or is it a little worse? No feedback? Good. Excellent. Okay, good. Everybody says it's good. Okay. So let's go ahead and select a CT. I'm going to do a 400 to 5. And notice this button here where it says same. If I click on that, it automatically populates a CTB and CTC as well. So I'm good. I'm happy with that. There are other things we can add to it, but let's go ahead and click on save. And then I could close this. What did I name this? Test 9? Yeah. So here's my site. It's already in there. So a lot of times when the guys create the new site, next thing they want to do is send it down to the analyzer. So all I got to notice this column here where it says mark. So I can select these as much as I want, or I can go over here and I can clear it as well. I can clear this, or I hit this button where I can mark all and I can click them all as well. And I'll show you why that's important to be able to do that. So let's just go down here and I'm going to send test 9 down, and I'm also going to send down, there's my one that I really want, which one was the 118. Yeah, this one. No, not that one. So for this point, I've selected these 2 sites. And the next thing I want to do, I want to be able to send it to my Powermaster. So those of you that have the Powermaster, there is if you go into the utilities menu, you can set the Powermaster up into communications mode. What that means is that it's able to accept communications with the meter site manager and be able to download and upload data. So I'm going to create a route and send to the Powermaster. So it's got these 2 sites. So these 2 sites are now showing here. And let's say, for example, you want to go out in the field and you want to compare what the values were when you're out there. You can actually go back and look at previous tests and load that into the Powermaster to make sure that you can compare it to what you had before. But I'm going to just keep that to none. And then you've got this option of import or replace. Now, what does that mean? Import and append means I'm going to take those 2 sites and I'm going to add them to whatever sites I've got in the Powermaster today. The other option is I'm going to wipe it clean and I'm just going to put these 2 in there. So in this case, I'm going to wipe this clean and I'm going to click on replace analyzer's data. So it goes to this dialog where it says connected to the 3 series that I have connected up to now, and it's going to run its process. And remember, I've put the Powermaster in communications mode. If you don't put it in communications mode, excuse me, you may get an error. So that's why I did that. So it's erasing the database now, and then it's going to replace it next. This same process works when you're uploading data as well. So let's pretend you've already done your site. You come back into the shop, or you connect to your laptop in your truck. you can you do the same process. It's called upload data, and I'll show you that in a second. But it's the same process. So you're being able, we call it upload, which means you're pulling data from the PowerMaster up to the computer. And we call download the ability of pushing data from the computer down to the PowerMaster. Sometimes I get confused about that, the upload and download part. While we're waiting, is there any questions you guys have? You can type it in the chat.
I was just curious if there's any precautions we need to take before we upload the software onto our machine.
Do you mean like
any backing up old data, just anything that we might accidentally overwrite?
Yeah, if you're creating a route or you're erasing data, yeah, you're going to want to be able to back it up first. So that's that upload process. So you go to communication upload. I'm not sure why this is taking so long. You can restart that. Sorry about that. Always seems to happen right when you're doing a demo. What I was saying was, if you want to just do a backup, that's that load data, which will pull data directly from the PowerMaster off. So you always want to do that before you do erase or create. So when the data comes back on the analyzer, or I'm sorry, back onto Meter Site Manager, what you want to be able to do is a lot of guys just want to be able to run a report. So let's scroll down to 118, this one. So how I generate a report is I just click on this date here. So I click on the site, and then I click on the date, and then so I can double click here and do kind of like a overall test, or I can look at the individual test. So let's look at the overall test now. So this generates a report right down here at the bottom, and it gives me my meter registration results here, and it also gives me my CT burden. So kind of like just an overall test. But let's say I want to look at the individual test. Let's go back here and I just double click on CT test. And here's my results here, the error I received. And here is, as each burden step, this is my change in ratio is here, and the ratio error applied. Again, if you're able to log on to our webinar, we'll talk more in detail about what these CT results are, which I think would be very valuable. A customer load test, pretty easy. So we want to look at the meter test here, and you also get the vector diagram that populates here as well. So that's a report generation. So you can print this. So if I go to print, I can print this to a printer. I can also print to PDF. So let's go ahead and print to PDF so you guys can see that. We support a lot of these PDF printers, and you can get this for free. There's there's no cost to this. And then here's your PDF report. Okay. Some guys also want to be able to, so if you don't want to generate all these independently, you can actually just click on this top button, or this top button here, I'm sorry. And if I click on this top button and I hit the F1 button, that's like a print all function. Yeah, okay. Sometimes if you don't have the waveforms collected, it will give that error. But I've done like a print all. So I click on print. And now I've got all of it. I've got all the information about the site. I've got the summary of last test, and then I've got these individual reports: CT test report, customer load test, basic test data. If I had the waveforms here, that would be there as well. So that's kind of like a print all. Okay. I also get a lot of questions about searching and filtering. This is one of the new features we have in Meter Site Manager. Let's say, for example, I want to be able to, kind of filter this. So all these columns here are sortable. So I can sort by meter form, I can sort by site ID, and that's by default, you already have the sort function there already. But sometimes you maybe want to see more columns here. And so if you click on this mark column here, you'll see a big list of all of the available columns that you can display. So I can add address, I can add city to show, and then that will populate here as well. So let's try to do a filter. So all I have to do a filter, or what a filter is basically is just taking that data, and you'll be able to kind of, bring it down. So I'm going to go to a column, and I'm going to sort all my Form 9s. So all I'm doing is go over here to the column, and I'm just clicking right click. And you see this option here where it says equals. I can click on equals, and let's do all my Form 9s. So now all my Form 9s are showing. Let's do a little bit further. Let's sort on billing multiplier. So let's do a billing multiplier greater than 200. Okay, now it sorts a little more. What makes this so valuable is that now, this is not my test list, right? So I can do over here, click on mark all, and I go to communication, and I can create this route and send that to the PowerMaster. So it gives you this really nice way to be able to compress the information you need and only to concentrate on the sites that you need to concentrate on. And so how do I clear this? I just click on any of these columns and right click again, and I clear filters, and everything's back to normal. Okay. That's one of the new features in the 2607. Another new feature, this is mostly for if customers that have a lot of database managers that may be on their staff that they're integrating, all of this test data coming in from your AMI information, your meter data management. So they're trying to pull all this stuff together. So we came up with a couple of options to give these your IT professionals a way to get this data in and out of this database. Couple things we have, which is this Microsoft SQL Server, which is kind of a premise-based database. Some of you may know, but our database is what you call a compact SQL. And so there are not a lot of tools out there for database managers to use. So we came up with this ability to actually export our database into a standard SQL database. This gives your database managers a lot more tools that they can use to be able to push data out, to push data in. And if they actually have your CRM or your CRS system directly connected to a server, they can directly push information into that database easily. Another option, which is more a basic option, which is just we can also import or export data using a comma separated value or a TXT. Your IT guys may have said something about a .csv or a .txt. They may also call this a flat file, and that's what I'm referring to. So all it is data that's pushed out by site that's separated using a column or a comma, hence the CSV comma separated value. That's what that means. But let's show that. Let's show, so say for example, I want to be able to, I just want to be able to export to this site. Yeah, let's do this site. So I want to export this to a CSV. So I selected a site, which is this one. I go to Tools, and I go to Export Site Data. Oh, I got a bunch here actually. I must have a bunch. So this has got all this stuff that I'm going to push to. So I can add sites to this. Let's go back 3 months or so. And I can, based on what your IT manager wants, you could push this to a text or a .csv. I can push all my meter information, CT information, and we have this standard format, which is kind of the compressed, or I've got all. But let's just look at the standard right now. So I'm going to push this to a CSV, just the meter data and standard, and let's export that. Let's do export test. And I come over here, and there's my CSV. Let's look at it. That must be still generating. Well, it generated the titles. Hang on, let's clear this. Oh, there was probably no data. Tools, export, this one. That's why I forgot to do this, the site test export. Well, for some reason I can't push that data out. Another option we can look at also is the ability to import test data using a CSV file. So the there is a you can get this data from your IT manager about site description here. If you can format a site like this, and let's say, for example, you push all this to out of your CIS into this particular format, you can actually import this into Meter Site Manager. So your IT manager can provide this. We can put this into a format and I can push this into the database. And that's pretty easy as well. I'm kind of using the same function. So if I go to Tools, and I can go to Import, Export Database Files. So here I click on Import, and I've got a .csv, and I select Site Description. I can actually import this file into Meter Site Manager. We do a lot of this for customers that just get their Meter Site Manager and they want to be able to load all their sites into it. This is the fastest and easiest way to do that. So as long as you follow this, this format, not all this is required, but as long as you follow this format, you can be able to import all those sites into your database. Also, let's go over the Microsoft SQL. And this is again for your database managers. If you go to Tools and Preferences, there is a section called Customizations. By default, everything is set to a PowerMaster format. That's just using our standard database format. But I have to select this SQL format, and I'm connecting to a SQL server, and it does ask for a name. And so I'm going to hit OK. So I set this thing up, I hit OK, and it's going to push this data out. And anytime I add a site, add data, or delete a site, this automatically gets pushed to your SQL server. So if your IT manager has SQL Server 2014 or SQL Server Express, they'll be able to view this and use it. So this is my computer. I click on Connect. And here are my databases. So I've got this MSM3, and so I can, what you can do here, those of you that do know SQL queries, I can do a select star from site description. That is the site database. And I click on execute. And it has all of my sites here. So I can do any kind of editing here as well. Or I can push data as well. So this gives your database managers a lot more tools that they can use to be able to play with this data. A lot of guys are very versed in SQL tools, and so they can do a lot of the management on this end, and then be able to push that automatically to the databases for Meter Site Manager. Okay, so we've covered the basic functions: downloading, creating a site, generating a report. I noticed that I do have a question about how do you edit the site ID? Unfortunately, that's the only field you cannot edit. Notice that it's grayed out. The reason why you can't edit the site ID is because that's kind of our unique identifier. I will say that I'd always recommend guys to create site IDs that's unique to the site, not as opposed to the meter. So please don't use meter serial number. I know some guys do. I don't recommend it because that meter can move from site to site. So I always recommend some kind of premise number or account number to use for site ID. But yes, unfortunately, that is the only field I cannot edit is site ID. I'm sorry about that. Clayton asks, can you do a standard push schedule, like have it push all data for all sites every night? Not automatically. You'll have to do that filter function I showed. there also may be some query tools you can use once you be able to push this data to SQL Server that would be able to do that as well. Yeah, sorry, Todd, I apologize. We can't. I can go in the database directly and change it. It just runs the risk of breaking the database as far as the site ID goes. So yes, that's the only thing I request is that when you set up your site, make sure you got your site ID correct. Yeah, yeah, Thomas. Yeah, if you name 5 sites and the next guy comes, you use the whole different naming convention. Yeah, that's true. I want to go over one more feature as well, because we've talked about SQL Server Support. We talked about importing and exporting a flat file. So let's talk about one of the features that I really enjoy, which is the export to Excel. A lot of guys they want to have their own custom report. Some guys may not like the built-in reports that we have. So we created this feature called export to Excel. So if I just select one site and I go over here, tools, and export data to Excel, we're going to do a test here. So I just saved this. So that's saved. And I'm going to go over here as well and bring this up. There is a template. If you guys remember right, when I showed the web page under PC software, there is a template called custom report template. And what we're doing is, those who are familiar with Excel, you can actually populate data on one tab, and then you can reference those cells to another tab to be able to generate a nice looking report. And that's what we've done here. So when you guys do upgrade to 2.6.0.7, make sure that you download this template and store it in a directory, kind of like what I did here, that's easy to get to. And once you store it, go over to Meter Site Manager, go to Tools and Preferences, and make sure that you point your export file here, and you can change it. Right now I'm pointing to this, my report template, MSM custom report template. So I'm actually pointing to the right one, which is good. So I pushed that data to Excel, and let's go look at it. Well, it was test, I think, right? So here's the raw data that we pushed out. So it's got, the address, the CT nameplate, and so forth. But here's the actual, this is a sample template I used. It's pushing out customer name and so forth. And how I created this is, if you can see this, all I did was do a cell reference. So see how it says equals data B7? And I go over here to data, and it's going to reference that same cell, B7, right there. So that's what it's referencing. So it's pointing to that part, and then pushing to that as my site ID. Same thing goes here for my meters, so forth. I can push out all my customer load data, power factor, CT test. This one, I had a cell reference error, that's why I said 0. Customer load accuracy test, I can push out my phantom load accuracy test. And this is not limited. I can, we can create a bunch of different looks to this based on this, but it's just a template that we offer. Some guys, let's first say, for example, you're using a probe well, let's say. Probe well has a very specific CSV output, and you can actually use this if you're pulling in probe well data. You can actually format this data to look just like that, and they can pull into the same database. Therefore, you don't have to worry about changing your database look. You can actually do it this way. So we use this template a lot to be able to handle a lot of those custom. Your IT manager will come back and say, hey, I've got this template can you conform to this template? And the answer is probably going to be yes, but using this feature, because I can create whatever your IT manager wants, push that, and he can pull that into the format that he likes. Because he may want specifically, okay, I want, registration on this third column, then I want power factor on the fourth column. We can do all that just by using this Excel template. I'll go back over to the questions. Lisa asked, is there a report for how many has been tested since a certain date? You can filter that way. For example, I can filter off of next test when it's coming up, or the test date, and it will give you a list of sites. So it will give you the list. I wouldn't say it will exactly give you a report. So you're able to generate a list, push that to a PowerMaster, or push that to a flat file, and that can give you sort of a report, but I wouldn't say it'd be a pretty report, maybe what you're thinking of. Billy asked, can you populate the vector diagram? I'm assuming you're probably referencing the Excel export. Not yet. Right now, we're just exporting raw data. We want to be able to get the vector diagram, waveform, and possibly the parallelogram as well. But right now, we're trying to keep it simple, mostly because we want to be able to keep it kind of flat for any kind of IT managers that want to be able to pull it in. Lisa also asks, can you transfer testing data from one site ID to another? Yes. Couple ways we can do that. So, it's a database. So anytime you have the same site ID that's in the analyzer and the same site ID that's in database, it automatically populates. Sometimes there are customers out there, or I'm sorry, there are technicians out there that have a bunch of databases. So there may be 5 technicians out in the field, and they've got a database on his laptop, a database on their laptop. And there's a feature in here called Tools, Merge Master Database to Current Master Database. So this feature gives you the ability to, so you can click on it, and I can just choose a file that I want to be able to select. So I can actually merge all 5 of these together into one database if need be. Thank you for the question, Lisa and Billy. Getting towards the end, oh, I'm sorry, Colin asked, will that work if you made a mistake when first creating the site? I think you're asking, Colin, can I go back and make changes to the site if I made a mistake? If so, the answer is yes, only with the exception of site ID. That I can't make change. That's the only thing I can't do. Any other questions about the new features? Lisa asked again about if would the merge have to have the same site ID? Not necessarily. So for example, if you have a couple other site IDs, you can they'll actually merge it together into the same database, and they won't overwrite. So we never overwrite, we only append. So no fear. For example, if you have test data that stays on your PowerMaster for a long time, and you want to be able to push that data to the database, we're always looking whatever the time date stamp is, and if it's the same, we just ignore it and then move on to the next one. So no worries about that. Any other questions about features? Lisa asks again, if I mess up the site ID and want to push it to the right site ID, can that be done? Site ID. Probably not. No, because the site ID is kind of our unique identifier. I'm guessing if you have the wrong site ID to begin with, you have the wrong site ID there at the end as well. Again, there are some backdoor methods we could use. We've done it before in the past. Customers have um, really kind of got the database messed up. We've gone to be able to pull that database in and kind of fix as much as we can. It's not always a guarantee, but we can definitely do that. So if there is, I've done it before. I've gone in and changed the site ID in some cases, but it's just not recommended. Well, I appreciate everyone joining. I want to go ahead and, if there's no other questions, I'll give it just a few more minutes. If not, I'll go ahead and do the drawing for the hats. Okay. So today's winners are Jason Irons, winner number 1. And winner number 2 is Logan Harpole. If you don't mind, chat me your address, your mailing address, and I will get you these the hats to you as soon as possible. Use about 5 business days or so. Trent asked if I could pull up the upcoming sessions. Yes, sir, I can. Hang on. Again, just a reminder, what we got coming up this Thursday. John Jones is doing CT load boost and CT benchtop with your 7 series. So that gives you the ability to be able to, let's say you can't go out and pull the site CT down. You can actually test a CT there in the shop just by using the 7 series load box. And we can also, if you out in the field and you have no load at all, you can actually put a load on the CT to get a good CT test out of it. And then the following Tuesday, we're going to be going over the CT results. We get a lot of questions on that. I think it's going to be a great session. And then don't forget, again, on the 2nd, we're doing the new product intro. Again, I've got some questions coming in. Daniel asked, what is the communication method for the software to collect the data from the meter? We use USB. So it's going to be USB connection from our laptop to the analyzer. Brian asked, can you date the meter site manager software and not update the software on the analyzer? Yes, most of the times that's true. The only exception would be if the database number, or I'm sorry, the database version changed, then you have to update both at the same time. But we rarely do that. We're trying to keep that to a minimum. So Brian, most of the times, yes, you do not have to update meter site manager. You can keep the same software on the analyzer as well. We know that a lot of the IT guys give you guys a lot of restrictions, and so we try to minimize the amount of changes on the software. Clayton asks, how do we sign up for future sessions? We've been sending emails out to everyone. Hopefully everyone's getting those. So when the email comes out, you can click on the link and then register that way. Thank you, Jason, for your mailing address. And Logan, if you don't mind, send me yours as well when you get a chance. Don't forget our promo going on. If you have your PowerMaster idle, please go ahead and send it in. We've got a nice 25% discount. Cows, repairs, upgrades. I'd appreciate it. Thank you, Logan. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you stopping by. We will see you Thursday. when we talk about CT low boost, CT benchtop. Thank y'all.